Hello and welcome back to the shop. This is my MN40. The MN40 is a bit of a throwback to the bad old days of MN models, when if you wanted one of these things, the only way to get hold of one was to buy the dreadful RTR and then sort everything out yourself. On this one, that meant that I had to relocate the battery from under here to under here, reduce the length of the rear overhang, and fit much smaller and grippier, softer WPL kit wheels and tyres. After that, all I needed to do was replace the electronics. What I most love about this thing are the looks. I absolutely love this white roof. But, like so many interesting characters, I'm afraid this has a fatal flaw. It can't go 5 yards along the trail without flopping over sideways and lying down for a nap. I've even resorted to wrapping lead around the axles wherever I can. My MN45 doesn't have this beautiful white roof and doesn't keep flopping over and lying on its side. So the first order of business today is going to be to lower the centre of gravity by removing the beautiful white roof. The interior turned out to have already been painted, which was a pleasant surprise. I might do the seats brown. With my lovely white roof gone, we're left with this. But my weight loss program is more drastic than you might think. I propose to decapitate this thing. Yep, I'm getting the Dremel out. 10 frenetic minutes of dremeling later. If I hadn't converted this truck to have an opening hood, I'd fold the windscreen flat and fix it permanently flat down on the hood as if it had been folded open, but I'm just going to run it without the screen. With the seats painted brown, I've replaced the driver, but this time I've epoxied him into position and added this bit of wet white drenched in epoxy, because without the cab to help hold him in place, I imagine when I roll this thing he's going to start falling out. Our vehicle should look something like this once it's all put back together. I want to paint this khaki, but as I don't have any pre-mixed khaki coloured spray paint, I'm going to have to spray some green and some brown into a paint tin lid, mix them together and paint this thing with a brush. And now that it's khaki, I've temporarily screwed the interior back in so I can see where to mark it and trim it. While trimming the sides of the interior, I realised that I really did not like the headrests, so I've cut those off, and I've also had to add a back to the seats and some sides because these areas previously wouldn't have been exposed. One other thing, I simply don't like the shade of brown I chose for the seats. I want something more akin to the colour of tan leather. We're making progress. I made a steel bracket and used it to mount the spare wheel. However, the steel I used for it was a little bit on the thin side and it tended to wobble around, so I found that a jerry can, 3D printed for me by my friend Dave, epoxied into position was the perfect solution. Dave printed this axe and shovel for me as well. I think I'm going to paint them before I stick them on. I think the axe looks great now that it's painted, and also it rather conveniently covers one of the two holes I injudiciously drilled in the side when I was planning to put the jerry can there. I wish it had occurred to me to get the spare a bit dusty before I fitted it. You know, I think we're pretty much ready to fit the body. The body's finished and it's bolted back on, but now we must turn our attention to the question of wheels. It's currently wearing WPL wheels with the soft kit tyres. These wheels, which are from the MN99S, are not only very slightly bigger, but also very slightly wider. It's the extra width that interests me because I'm trying to stop this thing being so roly-poly. Let's get them painted and fitted. The new wheels protrude slightly from the arches in a way that the old ones didn't. They are slightly wider. Let's go and see if it still falls over. At last, we've got a roll. Still, I've got to admit, it was doing well. That was excellent. All the frustration and irritation that I associate with driving this thing seems to have melted away. Of course, it's never going to be an MN99S. It's hamstrung by the presence of this enormous gearbox thing poking down. And this one at least is hamstrung by the fact that it's fitted with a 260 size motor. It really does lack torque, and as you saw in the film, sometimes, although I wanted to crawl, I was forced to back up and take a run up at various obstacles. That aside, however, I'm delighted with this project, and I'm looking forward to running it against the rest of my MNs in an upcoming big showdown. Till then, however, thanks very much for watching.